Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third episode of the Utopiacast. I'm your host, Erik Hogan, here with my co-host, Michael Beaupre. Michael, say hello to the people.
What's up?
We're here with the Wonderkin himself, Elliot Vojnica. Elliot, say hello.
Yo, yo, yo.
And today, another one of our guests here is Mr. Andrew Graves, USAPL State Chair, competitor, one of the original Team Hogan coaching athlete.
The OG.
Andrew, how are you doing today?
That's good. Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So before we kind of get into our topics today, and we want to kind of talk about Andrew's story, because me and Andrew personally have a bit of a background before powerlifting, as does me and Michael, but me and Andrew quite literally competed on the same sports teams before powerlifting. Let's talk about...
you and Michael.
I guess technically it's true.
When we were like 6 years old.
Yeah, the Patriots, man. Ask anyone who hung around the Saco Youth Football League. We gave them the work every single fucking week.
Yeah.
All right. Now, let's talk about our workout today, because we kind of got after it today.
I'd say we did.
Totally got after it.
So where did we go today?
We're at Jacked and Jilled in South Portland, Maine.
Yeah, shout out Jacked and Jill. They've done a lot for us in terms of USAPL Maine. They always house us. They always show us really good hospitality. They have really nice equipment. So let's talk about what we kind of hit today, what we had for a workout. We were joined by friends of the Utopiacast, Chris Couillard, Evan Wright. We had John Lavoie, the number one ranked lifter in the state of Maine. And then we were joined by some other state lifters. We had Seth Hartford, Zachary King, and Ian Brand.
Yep.
So let's go around. Elliot, you probably had the best day out of all of us.
Yeah, I had a great day.
So what happened? What went? What did you hit today?
Hit 370 for a triple on squat.
So contextualize that. Why is 370 such an insane triple?
Yeah, so my best ever squat is 374, I think.
You're right.
Pounds.
Yep.
That was in a meet. And so 4 pounds below that for a triple. And honestly, it didn't move that terribly. Probably looked slow, like always, but...
Well, and now that you know that you can grind weights out just because it moves slow, remember when we had the conversation, just because your last warm-up doesn't move good doesn't mean the top end's going to be there, and you trusted that and you went after it. Yeah. That was honestly the best I've seen you do.
Yeah,
you do
it felt
ever.
Really good. It felt amazing.
Well, and like compared to last week's triple, moved better than that, I think.
Yeah,
for sure. It
was 15 pounds lighter last week.
Yeah.
Oh.
It felt a lot better. Everything just felt so much better today.
And it was on calibrated plates too. Now, what did you hit right after that on bench?
315 for a nice single.
Let's get after it.
Now, was that on the plan today?
No, we were capped out at 300 today, but it moved so well.
No cap. That moved really good, though. I'm actually glad that you did take it, because you've hit 315 before.
Yeah, it was a little bit more dishonest, though.
A little bit more dishonest, but it wasn't after squats. So remember, we always talk about trying to take data from training, trying to apply it to a meet. Doing it after squats is going to be the most applicable. And you did that after a triple and then a bunch of back down sets.
Yeah.
What was the RPE supposed to be on the bench?
It's supposed to be 9.5.
Yeah.
I think
you were there.
I think you were definitely there.
Well, honestly, going into it, I thought 300 was going to be an undershoot anyway.
Yeah.
It definitely was.
Yeah, because
you hit 305 before, right? Or was it 300 before?
315
right
before
315.
Oh.
That was
300 or 305?
Oh, you're talking about the last, like the one before he took it. Yeah, it was 300
today.
pounds. 300
Yeah,
pounds.
300 pounds right before today.
That was easy as hell. So.
Yeah, that was my cap for today. And like every week before this, my bench has been, I would say, undershot.
Yeah. So, but this is why you have a training methodology like that. So for when it matters, when it's time to actually push it, you'll have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is pretty crucial or special, because 314 is, or 315, sorry, because it's not kilos, is how many pounds over your meet PR? What is your meet PR?
286.
286. So that's pretty big time.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
How many weeks out are you from the
10 weeks out?
10 weeks.
Weeks out, man. Michael, you're also 10 weeks out.
I am, yeah.
So what'd you hit today?
I hit 420 for 2 on squat, which ties a PR double.
I felt like that moved really clean.
It definitely moved better than the last time I did it. It felt better.
And it was on calibrated plates this time.
Right, yeah.
Which is pretty good. And what'd you bench?
280 for a single, which moved really good, I think.
We're getting back to the old Michael Beaupre here. This is the bench prodigy. So before we had the bench prodigy over here, Elliot, know your place. There's one before you.
I got you.
All right, you killed it today.
Thanks.
And I was telling Mike earlier, I don't think I've ever seen him struggle with a squat, and if you've seen him squat, they're literally all air. It's crazy to see. So
Bro, sometimes he'll literally make something move faster than the bar.
yeah,
Be
like
"Oh my
your
God, that was so shitty. That's
I always
your
say
SSB squat that you had like earlier this week. It was like 315 for 5.
yeah.
He said like RPE 8 on the caption. I'm like, what the fuck? Like that? It was like a 1. Like,
It was programmed for 8, and I
it
was
didn't
like,
look like an 8.
it didn't feel like 8,
Yeah.
but
That was the most you've ever safety squat
yeah, right.
anything, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't done more than that.
I
right.
hate that goddamn bar.
I love it. It feels so good.
It tanked my. I hated it. I ran one cycle with it. I don't think we ever went back with it.
No,
Because you do high bar,
No,
I
he's
did
a
high
low bar.
bar for a long time.
but like for your secondary, right?
Yeah. My secondary day is usually high bar.
Yep.
Yeah, we ran SSB once, and it was horrible.
and also I don't like the SSB at Titan, at that like fat one.
Yeah, that's the it's like the Yoke brand SSB.
Some of those are good, but like that one, I'm
Better
just
than the
not.
one at TPS. Do you remember that one that didn't even have handles and it was literally just a fucking purple? Can we swear on this?
Yeah, I
It's
swear,
just this
I swear all
purple
the time. These
pad.
guys don't.
There was no handles on it. You literally just had to hold your hands up here on the pad. It was brutal.
Right. I only ran SSB one time, and it was on a Titan SSB, but it was like the early version of the Titan SSB, so it was like really flimsy. And every time you put it on your neck, it literally felt like something was compressing my cervical discs. Because I would pull the thing in. I didn't know how to use an SSB, so I was pulling this thing in, so I'd be going down with my head like this.
It's like you're on a damn roller coaster with the fucking shoulder strap.
Exactly. So, before I get to me, Andrew, what'd you hit?
Today, I had an SBD day. I squatted a PR triple. It was 465 for 3.
Moved pretty good, I thought.
Yeah. I think the RPE cap was like 7.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it moved pretty well. It's always nice to be in like an environment like that. Like I'm used to training at Titan where the environment is always like that, but to come up and be a jacked and jilled, it was pretty sweet. Yeah, that moved pretty well. That was a 15-pound PR, but we don't really run triples that much on squat.
Yeah,
so-
and it's tough to say, but yeah, it's technically a PR, so
Yeah. And 15 pounds is a pretty substantial amount.
I would say so. And you still got what, 2 weeks left on this?
Yeah, next week is week 4.
But it's a 5 week.
It is a 5-week
Right.
cycle, but I don't know if week 5 has.
It has no cap.
Oh,
Good after it. Yeah, it's good after it. No cap.
And then I benched. I hit 305 for a set of 3.
That
which
moved
was-
really well.
Yeah, that was really easy. I think that was a PR because I don't even know the last time I ran triples on bench.
It's been a very long time.
Yeah, so whatever. It moved well. So that was good. I was benching with the god himself, John Lavoie. Threw up 395 at an RP of like 5. So
Before you keep going, let's just shout out Jonathan because he is just incredible.
Dude, in the car ride back, I was thinking we need to get him on the
Yeah.
pod.
Eventually, we
I
got to
don't know
get
if we
John
would,
on.
but he's very interesting.
He has a very interesting backstory. We won't get into it because we might eventually have him. But shout out Jonathan Ray. You're an or Jay Ray. What his name is? His name is Jonathan Lavoie. You're an inspiration to all of us, easily, or at least I can say so.
why is his name Jay Ray? What's
Nope.
the Ray?
I have no clue.
I never really thought about it.
God raised.
John is
Should've asked him
the
that.
the number 1 ranked lifter in the state of Maine and has been since 2017 or 18.
Yeah, we
So-
competed against him once.
Yeah, in 18.
Yep.
I competed against him in October last year. Yeah, he's out of his mind. But anyway, after that, I hit a beltless deadlift single 475, which was really well. I hit like 450 last week, and this one moved like 10 times easier. I don't really know why, but
And
shit flew today.
you did not tear your hand
The
open.
hand didn't rip open. That was good. Yeah, all things considered, that was good. I was happy with 475 on my dead. Pretty sure we haven't run beltless in forever either, so I don't even know.
And then the last time we
Oh,
did, it
yeah.
might have been sumo. So
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Shit.
I worked up to 420 for 2 on squat. So it's funny because and we've talked about this on the pod before. Me and Michael are the same weight class,
Right.
and we have two very distinct lifting styles. Whereas Michael, every single weight looks the same. Mine honestly, every single weight looks the same, but
Yours are very controlled.
but they're all controlled from
Yeah.
60 kilos all the way up to north of 200 kilos and whatnot. So I took 420 for 2. Felt really good. Felt like I had another rep or 2 in there.
At least.
Yeah, so that was really good. It didn't feel, because we always talk about this before, Like sometimes with those heavy weights, they just feel crushing.
Right.
It didn't feel crushing today.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't know. Maybe it was just the atmosphere or
Yeah.
something like that. But that moved really well. We had some back off work after that. Then we benched. So I have doubles, and I worked up to 265 for 2. I felt like pretty good pauses. My best ever double on bench is 275, and I still got 2 more weeks left in the cycle. So feeling pretty poised for something pretty insane. And then I also had belt stiff-legged deadlifts, 330. We went tarps off. I wouldn't have done it unless Andrew did it first, so thank you, Andrew. 330 for 6, felt pretty easy. I don't know, just was a really good day today. I think everyone really got after it. It was awesome.
You guys should go tarps off and Saco Sport.
Yeah.
I tried
Travis
it.
Sandberg did that one time.
I did it one time.
Andrew did it one time as well.
I literally tried it like, I don't know, probably a month ago at like 10 p.m. Me and my friend Aiden, shout out Aiden if you're watching this. We had it off, and then Gabe, the desk manager, comes running down, and we booked it, bro. And he looped around, and he goes, "You guys can't do that yet."
If you
Yeah.
go to I don't know, not that far down to my Instagram, you'll see me doing beltless deadlifts, shirtless in Saco Sport at around 10 p.m. This was when I was training for 2020 collegiate nationals. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we had a good day today. I felt like that was pretty cool. Now we kind of profiled myself, Michael, and Elliot on episode 1, but we have a guest, obviously. Now, Andrew, I've known you. How long have we known each other?
I mean, known each other or been friends? Because
Let's go both.
Shit, it was either. Yeah, it was. I think middle school is my first memory of you. When I was in like 5th grade, I think you were in 4th grade or something like that.
Yep. So Andrew is a grade ahead of me, although we are the same age.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like the first time I remember like ever meeting you or talking to you. But we weren't really friends until like 3 or 4 years later.
Yep.
When we were playing football together.
Yep.
The Power music video.
Yep. We
for
bonded.
Kanye.
We bonded over the Power music video, which at one point was pretty much only on Music on Demand.
Yeah, the what was it? Time Warner.
Time Warner Music on Demand. Yeah.
So
Like, you've seen that music video? I was like, yeah.
yeah, I remember it
I was like,
distinctly.
this kid's
we were
pretty sick.
in the bleachers in the gym at the middle school.
Yep.
And yeah, whatever it was, one of us brought it up, and I was like, "Yo, that's a sick fucking video, dude."
I was like, how have you seen that? He's like, Music on Demand. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a pretty extensive history.
Yeah. So what was that, like 2009?
That would be. I think I was in 7th grade in 2010.
So I was. Yeah. So
So
yeah, 2010,
09,
yeah,
10,
and it was,
somewhere
like,
around there.
Right around My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. So yeah, 2010.
Yeah, exactly. So
12 years strong.
12 years strong. It seems like gone by really fast.
Yeah.
But a lot of things have kind of happened in between.
Yeah, for sure.
So what we did 3 different sports together.
Yeah. So we started on the same football team because in middle school it was combined 7th and 8th graders.
Old Orchard Beach.
Yeah, we're at Old Orchard Beach. And then basketball, obviously. Well, you kind of came up and around for some of our 8th grade stuff, right? But I don't really remember that too much.
For some reason, yeah.
Yeah. The Iron Five.
The Iron Five.
Shout out the Iron Five.
The 8th grade team won a game with only 5 players, so they had to play every single minute of the game.
It was myself, Zach Demers, Caleb Grenier, Brian Roberts.
Tim?
It might have been Tim.
Yeah.
Caleb Grenier?
You know Caleb?
You know Caleb.
I know his brother.
You know Caleb really well, right?
I know his brother better.
Caleb's good
There's a
shit.
generational divide there.
Yeah, I guess so.
My brother is friends with Caleb since
Yeah.
birth.
Who's your brother?
Oliver.
I don't think I know.
No,
Oliver.
he didn't go to OB.
No, but Caleb's good shit. He was my roommate.
Caleb
in
is
college.
seriously good shit.
Yeah.
I like Caleb. Everyone likes Caleb.
Caleb on
Pleb.
Spotify.
Pleb.
My mom gave him that nickname.
For real?
Pleb, yeah. She was the one who started that, and now it's his Instagram or whatever. But
It's euphoric.
yeah,
That's awesome.
He makes
stream
music now.
stream him on Spotify.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out Caleb Grenier.
Yeah, we should get him on.
Well, maybe we have like a
I
music
can't say
and
that about everyone.
yeah, I know. Anyone listening to this is no offense, but we're running with a schedule right here, so we have to prioritize things. Caleb eventually, maybe. But anyway, so we start off playing football together.
Yeah, but I mean, we were friendly with each other. I wouldn't call us like best friends at that time, but when we got into high school, it sort of all changed. With JV basketball
With
your
JV
freshman year.
JV basketball with Kirk Cretion.
Yeah. That's when we really sort of started becoming friends.
Yeah, we actually started like hanging out outside of sports after that.
Yeah, and it was that was a crazy team. That was probably the most fun I've ever had playing sports, honestly.
Yeah.
Was that year.
I'm very comfortable admitting that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then from there, that's sort of when we started hanging out. Me, you, Zach, Joe,
Yep.
Harl, Team Getting It. I'm shouting them out. I know you said not to, but
Wow.
it's Team Getting It.
He's throwing it back to something high school age. We initially had 2 different variations of the same group. We had the aesthetics crew, Elliot. We had we had the aesthetics crew, which was you. One of them featured Zach. One of them didn't feature Joe. It featured both of them.
Was on the aesthetics crew.
Zach got kicked out of the aesthetics crew.
Yeah, he was booed up at the time.
Yeah, and he was never
he was acting shady.
Yeah, exactly. So we kicked him out of the aesthetics crew, and it caused a big schism. Yeah. So around that time, you made all conference in football as a linebacker.
Yep, my senior year I was all conference.
Yep.
Outside linebacker for football. I think I made all conference on track too.
Yep.
Pretty sure for long jump, I want to say.
Right, exactly. Again, we played on most of sports teams. Mostly all of our sports teams that we played on were together. You, in terms of your play style, were mislabeled as like a hustler type guy, but you were pretty skilled in every sport that you played, I thought.
I don't know if mislabeled is the right term because I was a hustler.
Yeah. But I think of like basketball, they're like, oh, we'll throw him in there and he really hustles and whatnot. Basketball was not your best sport, and I think you would admit that. But in football and track, you were pretty special.
All conference, what can I say?
You had easily one of the best runs I've ever seen at the high school level.
It's the one you robbed me of?
We're not going to talk about that. All right.
It's an illegal motion on Erik. It was like a 60-yard run on my senior night, actually, and then Erik stole a touchdown from me again.
Andrew, we want to give a little bit more context too?
No.
Okay. Well, there was one more guy. There was one more guy to beat, and I sprinted at like easily like a 11-0 100-meter pace to get the block so he could finally get the touchdown.
And it wasn't even Erik's fault, really. It was way too quick of a snap, and so he wasn't set up yet. But
that's that.
We've done in the past.
So we've known each other for a very long time, so we established that. So you went off to college. You went to Wentworth Institute of Technology.
That's correct.
Shout out the Beavers.
Not the Beavers, we're the Leopards.
Anyway, so you went off to college, and I remember me, Zach, who's a friend of the Utopiacast, and Joe Anderson, who's also a friend of the Utopiacast, who actually called in right before to throw some hate at Andrew's way and Michael's way.
Yeah. Me and Zach have some beef.
You and Zach have some beef. They have nothing good to say about each other every single time they see him. They throw some heavy words out there, but we won't get into that on the Utopiacast here. But where we're at, so yes, you broke off. You went to Wentworth Institute of Technology. Me, Joe, and Zach were left in high school. It was a little bit different for that first year. Now, talk about your adjustment process, because you didn't play I hate to say it, but the normal 3 sports. Because Wentworth didn't have football, they didn't have track, and basketball wasn't something that really interested you.
I also was not good enough to play at the college level in basketball.
Okay.
At least at Wentworth, I think it was a D3 school, but still, I mean, maybe I could have. I don't know. I never tried, so.
Right. So before we talk about that, your major was in what again?
Construction management.
So you went for construction management, and you picked up a different sport.
Yeah, so when I first got to Wentworth, I had just finished my senior year, obviously, of high school, but my senior year of track, and I really developed into what I thought was becoming a good track athlete. But when I got there was no track team, and so my original plan was to start a track team.
I remember that.
Seemed like a lot of work, so I didn't divulge into that.
I hope you say what I think on.
Oh yeah, my dad. Shout out Jim Graves. He wanted me to become a rower for some reason and join the crew team. And I actually lived with 2 of the crew. I don't know what the 2 of the rowers.
Yeah, the crew is the sport, but still.
Get up at like 4 a.m. every day to go like swim in the.
And they were weirdos, weren't they?
Yeah, they were kind of weird, but
exactly. So that ship sailed.
Did not get into crew. Did not start the track team, and so my freshman year, first semester in college, I pretty much didn't do anything besides get drunk all the time. I mean, whatever. But I wasn't really, indulging in any athletics.
Right.
And it was pretty rough because, coming from Old Orchard Beach, going to Boston, Massachusetts is like a huge transition, like culturally.
Very jarring.
And yeah, like Old Orchard Beach, like the smallest community, you know everybody, all that. And then you go into Boston, into a big city where you don't know anybody. It was quite the transition. I had a hard time with it my freshman year until I joined the rugby team my second semester.
Yeah.
And I played rugby all 4 years there.
Pretty successful rugby career too, if I wouldn't say so myself.
Yeah. No, we had a lot of fun. We won 3 plates at Beast of the East, which is like the regional tournament at the end of the spring semester.
And you're selling it short by saying a little bit of fun or a lot of fun. It was more than that for you guys.
I mean, we got after it. It was like, that was honestly my first taste of euphoria.
Right.
Like that, those guys and everybody that was part of that, they really, like, they honestly changed my life. Like,
yeah. Changed my life too.
Yeah, I mean, like going into, like I said, going into college, it was really, a stark transition. So when I was able to join the team, it was, like night and day, and they like embraced me and had a lot of fun playing rugby. I still miss playing rugby.
Right. You were gonna play in the alumni game.
I thought about playing in the alumni game, but it was also like a week and a half out from my last competition, so I figured it would be best not to fucking bust an ACL.
It was for the best. But, yeah, you're right, because that definitely did change your life. But again, I'm not trying to make it about me, but it definitely changed mine too, because not only do I consider a lot of those guys friends, but a lot of those guys are now my coaching athletes.
That's right. Yeah.
Tyler Hill, David Kaler, Josh Dang, Kyle Cable. Am I missing others? But still.
I mean, I met,
But even then, offshoots from that, the people around them and whatnot, I would never met Sergio and guys like that. Bex Jordan, obviously Bobby.
Yeah.
Shout out Robert Tortona. Yeah, so that was a pretty cool period in your life. And you kind of got into powerlifting a little bit before I did. I actually remember coaching you at your first meet before I had even done a meet.
Well, technically, yes, I did get into powerlifting before you because I competed before you, but I feel like we sort of had the same trajectory. It was just more so the timing of the competition. Because had you made the transition to powerlifting yet, or were you still weightlifting at that time?
So before you did your first meet, I was still doing weightlifting, but I was starting to do heavy deads, I remember the original goal or the original thought process was I'm going to do a full powerlifting cycle to get strong for weightlifting. And then I as soon as I got done with that, I'm like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to stay with powerlifting because this is more fun and I'm better at it.
And I remember, I mean, I wouldn't have been powerlifting at all if it wasn't for you, probably, because we used to, train in Zach's basement and the sessions at Snap Fitness and all that.
Shout out Snap Fitness.
That's where it all started, really. And, even when we were when I turned 13, I got my first set of dumbbells, the fucking Gold's Gym, adjustable.
Yeah.
The 1-inch dumbbells. I still have those actually. They're still in the basement. I think Harl still uses them, but I had lifted a little bit, but you guys were the ones who got me to start squatting, benching. Even when we were doing that for a year, I didn't even know what a deadlift was.
True.
All throughout high school, I wasn't even aware of I had heard the term deadlift, but I had no idea what it meant.
Right.
Yeah, but then
I remember very vividly in a Snap Fitness, me and him, we worked up to a single on deadlift, and it took us 3 hours to work up to a single, and then we left after that. Michael, you can relate to that.
Sounds like what I used to do.
That's right.
I mean, it wasn't it took us 3 hours to warm up because the weights were so heavy. He hit 331, I hit 341.
Right, and we were taking 5 or 10 pound jumps all the way up to it.
Oh my god.
We were 14 singles.
And we after every one, he would drop the bar and he'd be like, "You going up?" I'm like, "Yeah." And we would go
I was in the polo. We came right from Wild Acres.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. I was wearing a Playboy shirt because I thought it was edgy. Yep. Elliot, you were gonna say something?
Well, I just feel like that's every young man goes through a stage like that.
Told you.
At least if you're into lifting.
This is what I mean, and we kind of talked about this on the last podcast. You can tell the people who love lifting versus the people who kind of power lift for the validation, for the likes and stuff like that. Yeah. I know for a fact, if powerlifting, the competitions weren't there, you'd be in the gym the next day, you'd be in the gym next day, I would be, and you would be as well. And I think that's what keeps you going. But let's get back on track here. So, Andrew, getting into powerlifting, when was your first meet?
First meet was in...
Sorry, before we get into it, what was going to be your first meet?
All right. Well, do you want to talk about this now or talk about it later when...
No, you know what? You're right. We should talk about this a little later. When was your actual first meet?
So my first competition was... I don't even remember what month. June? No, it was July. It was July 6th, 2018. It was the Liberty Games in Clifton Park, New York at the G-Box.
Where was the warm-up room located?
I was in the gorilla room of the G-Box. That was
Still to-
directed by John Dario. Word to John Dario.
Still to this day, a pretty chaotic meet. that I've been-
Yeah, I mean it's weird when it's your first meet because you just don't know any better.
Right.
You don't know what to expect. It was nice because I at least had Bob there. I had you there, and Zach was there too. I don't know if you knew what was going on, but he was.
He was there for support.
Yeah, he was there for the hype.
Zach, to be honest, though, turned into a pretty good meet day handler. So
Yeah, no, he definitely learned his stuff, and he was there for you last year, or not? Was it last year or 2020?
2021 Nationals.
Yeah. So yeah, that was in July of 2018. So that was coming up on 4 years ago now, and I've done I think 8 or 9 competitions. Total since then. So.
Right. And I remember from that first meet, it was really weird. They didn't have a monitor. I mean, 2018, people still had monitors, but it wasn't as prevalent. We had to relay back and forth to find out where he was in the flight. I had never handled anyone in meet. I didn't know what was going on. Andrew, do you want to speak upon what your post weigh-in fuel was like?
I think I might remember everything still. So I weighed in. I think I did like a starvation cut or something.
Shout out to the starvation cut. Don't do
to
it.
get down under 183 because it was the 83 kilo class at the time. But after I weighed in like 179 or something crazy like that. I had I think 9 Krispy Kreme donuts. I had a hash brown, a bacon, egg, and cheese from McDonald's. I had a coffee. I had like 2 Nosses.
This is before the opening squat.
I had all of that like within like half an hour of weighing in,
Right.
And then I
I
was
feel
just
that
like
now.
chilling.
Right. You went 8 for 9 that day.
I did, yeah. I hit 3 for 3 on squat, 3 for 3 on bench, 2 for 3 on deads.
Right.
And I actually locked out my last deadlift, but I lost it like on balance or something. Or
Something like
grip.
that. Yeah.
But yeah, 8 for 9. I was at 418 squat, 264 bench, 484 deads for 1168 total, I think.
1168 total. And what was the total of your last meet?
It was 650.
Isn't that
kilos,
1433?
Yeah, 1433.
So 1433 from an 1168 first meet.
So was that plus 270 or something?
Plus 270. Yep. And Andrew was the original Team Hogan athlete.
That was like the origin of Team Hogan.
That was the origin.
I'm pretty sure I was running Candido 6 week into that competition.
You ran Candido 6 week into that competition. I don't know which you ran the TSA peaking program into the second one, which was Maine State 2019.
Yeah.
And then the legendary. We'll save this one towards the end here, if we want to. He ran PH3, and for those of you, Elliot, you heard about the PH3 stories.
A little bit.
We told John about your SBD sessions because John related. He ran it as well.
Today?
We told him today in the car, and he started dying laughing. He's like, that program literally made me feel like I was not a good powerlifter. He's like, maybe I'm not cut out for this.
I lost 33 pounds on my deadlift.
I was telling him about that he was doing insane. He was deadlifting twice a week, insane volume. It was like 5 sets of 5 or 5 sets of 7 every workout, and his deadlift went down 20-something pounds. But that was regionals, and he ended up winning regionals.
The reigning 83 kg junior champion. 3 years running now, since we haven't had a regional since then.
Exactly, and technically speaking, that weight class is now retired, so no one can take that title away from you.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's get after it. So, Andrew, again, you did your first meet, kind of progressed well into the sport, but recently you and I have become meet directors.
That's right, yeah. We are coming up on our 4th competition here, I guess, in 10 weeks.
Which is pretty insane. I don't know how you feel about that, but it literally feels like yesterday that we just started doing this, and we're already...
It's crazy, because it was like the end of 2020, like December of 2020, when I think you reached out to me and asked if I wanted to direct a meet, and I had literally been thinking about wanting to direct a meet.
Yeah. Because Mr. Michael Coulter, who is our former state chair, we'll get into that as well, reached out to me and was like, hey, if you want to run states this year, let me know. And he told me, and I was like, I know for a fact I can't do this by myself, and I wouldn't want to do it by myself. So I reached out to him.
It wasn't even... We were just going to run a local meet, and then Mike asked us if we wanted to make it the state championship.
Right, exactly. So we kind of fell into it, and shout out Michael Coulter. He really set us up for that first meet, how to do everything. We're really thankful, and he's still helping us out to this day. So shout out Michael Coulter. So we've run 3 now. This will be our 4th meet.
Yeah.
We feel pretty confident to say we've kind of, and Elliot, you've done how many of our meets?
I think you've done all 3.
3, yeah. All
3. Michael, you've done 1 and helped out at 2.
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys can speak on the athlete perspective because obviously we're not the ones doing the meets. I feel pretty confident saying that if we're not the best meets in New England, I would say we're certainly in the top 2 or 3. And we've kind of changed the game, at least around here, in terms of prizes, in terms of meet day atmosphere. Elliot, you had only done one meet before the meets that we'd done before. Speak upon how we kind of run meets.
I was just about to say, definitely it was a big upgrade compared to the first meet I did.
Yeah.
You can be honest too. Like,
No, yeah, honestly. Like, especially the thing that I noticed is the consistency with, like, equipment in the warm-up room.
That was something that we really, really paid a lot of attention to and wanted to improve because we have both done meets before. Like I did a meet in Peterborough, New Hampshire, where there was bars quite literally were so smooth that the knurl was smooth. Like there was no knurl on the bar. If Andrew remembers this, there were not enough squat racks, so people were taking off the bar on the front of a incline bench, so they were having to like rest their chest on the incline bench as they brought it out and were doing their squat warm-ups there. So we wanted to avoid that the most we can. So that's cool that you noticed that.
Yeah. Do you also remember my first meet? We were like squatting on that really skinny bar.
Yeah, the bar, it was with 135, it was whipping like this. Michael, you have a pretty extensive meet history. You've been doing meets since 2014, we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
You helped out with our 2021 meet, the state championships, and the 2022 state championships.
Right.
Michael's been running the table, and he's a huge asset for us. So if we didn't have him, sometimes we quite literally would not have anyone to do that. So thank you for always being there for us.
Yeah.
But you actually did one of our meets as your first comeback meet.
Yep.
What is the difference there?
I thought it went really smooth.
Yeah.
I've never had a meet go like how you've said, like with racks and taking it off of an incline, but
Right.
yeah, I think it went really well.
You have kilo plates in the back.
Yeah, I haven't had it. I think at Worlds I had that, at Nationals I had it.
Right.
But other meets like local ones, I don't think I had kilo plates. But I don't know kilos that well, so.
But at least it helps before you actually get onto the platform.
Right, yeah.
even at nationals when you went, you had pound plates in the warm up room.
Yep.
Really?
When I went to 2021 Junior Nationals, it was Texas Power Bars, so the ones that we were talking about today, and pound plates. So just goes to show that.
They had no kilos?
No, there was one set of kilos actually, and Midland University hogged them all.
Oh, yeah.
So we couldn't use them. But anyway, there's some other things that we do that are a little bit different, like the third attempt deadlift, third attempt every lift music.
I was just about
What do
to
you
say
guys
that.
think about that?
I like it.
I think it's cool, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't even do it my first meet I did with you guys.
Well, because you sent yours in too late, so that's
This
the reason
bastard
why. Well,
sent me the wrong sheet.
What?
Do you remember that?
No.
I was like, yeah, I got emailed a sheet, and then you were like, oh, I told Andrew he sent out the wrong sheet. You
Yeah.
guys had like 2 different spreadsheets.
I'm a little confused here, but Elliot, regardless, the main issue is you. You didn't get it
Oh,
in.
yeah,
You
what the
didn't
hell
get
are you talking about?
You didn't get it in.
You had to Google like a doc or whatever.
We did send out 2, but we cross-referenced both to take the answers from both. to
And
put 'em on the
Elliot,
board
remember
that we
it was
gave to
24 hours
people.
out, and you didn't do yours until like 12 hours.
No, I did
No,
mine
you
24.
didn't.
Yes, I did.
That was
bro.
cap. Anyway,
It's not cap.
you guys enjoyed that aspect, of
Yeah.
course. Right, and I'd like to say the meet day atmosphere we provide is pretty cool, pretty professional.
The last one was really cool, how you had that tunnel.
The tunnel system, we're going to be using that for the next one as well.
That's exciting.
We got some other stuff planned. And then the other thing is we've been giving out prize money and prizes in general, along with banners, along with medals and whatnot. Michael, you actually won some money last meet.
Yeah, I won $150.
Right.
And I've never gotten like prizes before. I've always gotten medals.
Right, exactly. So that's something that we've seen. We can't take 100%. I guess we didn't come up with that. We saw other people do it, especially at bigger meets, but no one was really doing it at the local level. People were doing it for like primetime meets and stuff like that, and we thought, why not? Why can't we do that? So that's something that we've been recently doing in terms of our powerlifting, and we both became refs, which is something that you guys honestly should be doing as well.
Well, you know
Coming
the
refs.
rules so much more.
Well, you know the rules so much more, and then just also like if you're ever available, having that. It's like refereeing these days. People are actually paying out too, and we pay our referees pretty good. I would say.
Yeah, I try and pay all of our volunteers.
Yeah.
But I want to go back and just shout out Marshall Powell real quick. He was the meet director of Carolina Primetime.
Yeah.
As well as I can't remember his name. I think it's Brian something, but he directs Texas Barbell Syndicate.
Yeah. Yep.
Competitions down in Texas. Those two guys helped me a lot. Learn a lot of the nuances of meet directing. Even before our last competition, or our first competition, excuse me. But they were the ones that I saw that started giving out really cool like prize money and sort of elevating the local competition scene.
Yeah.
As well as Saber Schnitzer. He helped me out a lot as well. I've spoken with him on the phone. He is the director of like the Virginia Pro competitions.
Yep.
Everything that goes on at the shop gym down in Virginia.
Yeah.
Just wanted to shout those guys out real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to directing meets and whatnot, before there's another aspect of this that I want to get into, but I feel like we have a really cool dynamic because I'm, 100% like the things that we've been doing with live streaming as well. That's kind of changed the game at least a little bit in terms of around the Northeast area. People have done live streams before, but not as comprehensive. Like Andrew is a couple weeks out trying to find info on lifters so that he can inform the people watching, stuff about them, their PRs, stuff like that. We have a pretty cool infographic, and I'm going to give him 100% of that credit because I have nothing to do with that. I think we do have a really good dynamic because I bring more of the coaching side and like the logistics side of things to directing meets and whatnot, because I always have around 7 to 12 people doing the meets, and then Andrew brings the other side of that, where if I was tasked with the live stream stuff or tasked with setting up like prices for concessions and stuff like that, I would be remiss. So I think that's why we kind of work well as a team.
Yeah, no, I think so, and it definitely helps that we have the relationship that we have, and we know each other so well, and we can work together without trying to kill each other.
Yeah, right. I'm not going to say it's all been smooth sailing. I think we've both gotten frustrated the last couple of meets trying to set up, because usually
nothing was worse than the January one, because we had to set up in a goddamn blizzard. It was brutal, and it was pretty much just me and Erik setting up.
Exactly. So for anyone listening to this who's ever done some of our meets, although we got some really good help, and we always do have really good help, a lot of this stuff is just me and Andrew by ourselves. Not sitting here saying you need to bend over backwards to say, good job or whatnot, but just realize that we put, I believe for the January meet, it took from beginning to end 12 hours of setup, or maybe it was 10 hours.
It was a long time.
It was a long time. I don't even want to remember it. Now, last thing we'll speak upon, Andrew, you are our state chair.
That's correct.
That's been a recent thing. What made you want to be our state chair? How did that process happen? What are the day-to-day, maybe not day-to-day, what are the logistics of being a state chair?
So that came about right around the time of the 2021 state championships back in July.
Right.
So as a state chair, you have a 3-year term, and Michael Coulter's term was up in 2021.
Yep.
He was elected in 2018, obviously, and directed a number of competitions for us that were all really well run.
Yep. Along with Mark Houdlet.
Yeah, Mark Houdlet as well directed a number of competitions that we both did.
Right.
And they were really good for us. And so 2021 came around, and having been in contact with Mike, he had expressed to us that he wasn't interested in rerunning for state chair.
He vocalized it pretty clearly that he didn't want to do it anymore. He wanted to focus a little bit more on the athlete side of things, because Michael's a phenomenal lifter himself. Michael Coulter, that is. Michael, you are as well.
World-class lifter.
Yeah.
Was he from Norway?
He is from the Netherlands.
The Netherlands,
Yep.
yeah. As that was coming around, I forget how the process worked. I believe I had to reach out to the national office,
Right.
And submit sort of like a bid to become state chair. I had to submit a resume, as well as I think I just had to submit a resume.
Yep.
So I basically included my lifting experience. Me and you both took over as like social media managers of the USA Powerlifting Maine page.
Now, before we go into that, we've really expanded that over the last year. That went from like 400, barely 400 followers. Now we're closing
like
on
800.
Yeah, so almost double in a year, which is pretty cool.
And they never really used to post on that either.
No,
there
we
was
try to
not
post
much of a presence on there beforehand. So,
But continue. I'm sorry.
I included the social media stuff on there, because there is, if you go onto the USA Powerlifting's website, there's like duties of a state chair, and one of the duties is like your main duty, I would say, is growing the base of lifters, the
Right.
number of lifters
Yeah.
in your state. And so obviously social media followers isn't a direct translation to
But in 2000
increase of lifters in your state.
But in 2022, I feel like that's a pretty good reflection.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say so. And so basically included some of that stuff. I had newly become a referee. The first meet I refed was the state championship. So I included all that on the resume. I sent it in. I ran against one other person, Shelby Downing.
Yep.
And I believe it was right after the state championship. I want to say a week after is when the voting occurred.
Yep.
And basically what happened was everybody who was an athlete in USA Powerlifting in the state of Maine got an email to vote on who they wanted to be state chair. I won the election.
Yep.
Since then, we've done 2 more competitions. I think we're well over 115. I think last month we were at 115 lifters in the state. In the month of May, which is pretty crazy because at the end of last year we were at like 110, and so we've already surpassed last year's numbers just in May at this point. So
Which is awesome.
yeah,
That was for a full year that you were just speaking of.
Yeah, that was at the end of the year after we had done our competitions and everything. So, the responsibilities and requirements of a state chair are basically to go to the competitions that are held in your state. Just make sure that they're running to par. Grow the athlete base in the state,
Right.
And basically put on good competitions. It's not necessary to be a meet director or a referee if you're the state chair, but it definitely is a good thing to do. So, anybody who's thinking about becoming a state chair, definitely, get involved early and get involved often, because the more you do, the better off you'll be.
Absolutely. And I can speak personally. I think you've done a phenomenal job as the state chair.
Thank you.
Elliot, Michael, would you say so?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course, we're all friends here, so we're not going to sit here and blast you. But I personally, I know we can, but I honestly think that the landscape of USAPL Maine has changed under your vision, and we're on a really good trajectory, and we've already made really good progress. So, thank you for all you do for USAPL Maine.
Absolutely, man. I love the sport. I'm glad to do it.
Like anecdotally, I've done 3 meets now,
Right.
because of you.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yep.
I've only been a part of it, man. Like even if I wasn't, because you did your first competition wasn't one of my meets or one of our meets, I should say. But it's just I'm just a piece of it, man. It wouldn't be possible without the volunteers, the referees, the athletes, all the spectators,
absolutely.
and everything. So it's literally just an amalgamation of all that is what makes it
Yeah, and
exciting.
And we talked about before, powerlifting is a individual sport. We know that, but realistically, if you have the right people around you, it's really takes a team effort. You know what I mean? And we've kind of learned that all of us, all of our performances and whatever has kind of shot up ever since we had like this training thing going on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
It's definitely helped being all together.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I thought so. And maybe that has something to do with atmosphere, but you could, it's either neither here nor there. At least it is working. So let's talk about some stuff today. So we all compete in USA Powerlifting, which is a drug-tested federation. I believe their tag is America's Choice for Drug-Free Strength Sport. I believe that's the tagline there. We've also, let's state again how long we've been competing in USA Powerlifting. So for me, it's been since 2018. Andrew?
Also 2018.
Michael?
2014.
And Elliot?
Last year,
so 21?
Yeah.
USA Powerlifting. Let's talk about because for those of the viewers who are listening, powerlifting is a little bit of a different sport in the sense of when you play basketball, the rules of basketball don't change regardless of division. Now, the 3-point line might be a little bit closer in, but a 3-pointer is always going to be a 3-pointer. You're always going to be using a basketball. The basketball doesn't necessarily change. The foul is always going to be a foul, stuff like that. And there's no other regulations. There's probably exceptions here and there, but powerlifting is really different in the sense of you could be doing something that is the same sport, and there could be 3, 4, maybe up to 5 variations of the same thing. So within powerlifting, just to give a brief, layout of what you can expect, we have raw powerlifting, which is what the 4 of us compete in. Do you guys want to speak on to what raw powerlifting is?
So raw powerlifting would be squatting in knee sleeves.
Knee sleeves, not knee wraps.
Right. Yeah. Knee wraps some people say aren't any different, but they're definitely different.
Yep, we can get
Some
into
people
it.
still classify them as raw.
Right.
Right.
Because that's what it was for a long time.
Yep.
Like raw with wraps.
Yep.
And other. federations.
Yep.
Even the USAPL has row with reps you can do now.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Now you can.
It's not very popular, but you can do it. Yeah.
Now, knee sleeves, you can wear wrist wraps.
Right.
You could wear a belt.
Yep.
And then you have your regular old singlet, and that is pretty much it.
And then with bench is just a t-shirt and your singlet.
Yep.
And wrist wraps.
And the reason why Michael is saying just a t-shirt and whatnot is because there's another variation called equipped lifting. Now, equipped lifting you would wear if you wanted to take it to the highest level. You would wear a squat suit, which kind of helps you. How much it helps you depends upon the suit, depends upon the person, but it definitely does help you.
Yeah, it can help you hundreds of pounds.
And then add some tight knee wraps, probably add another 100 if it's a really good wrap style and whatnot. You have your bench shirt. If anyone, especially our visual audience watching here, a bench shirt kind of puts you in a position like this. Is that pretty accurate, Andrew?
It's like if you've ever worn a slingshot, it's like wearing a slingshot, but it's a shirt.
Right.
So your arms are pretty much.
Exactly. And essentially what you have to do is you kind of have to row that bar into you. Some people honestly have a tough time touching because actually that...
I'd say most people have a tough time touching.
Exactly. Rowing that bar into you and actually touching your chest is the hardest part, and it kind of slingshots you quite literally all the way to the top. And you pretty much, and I'm not doing it 100% because I'm not saying it's easy by any means. Benching 700 pounds is never going to be easy.
Right. You gotta stay in that like groove, because if you get out of it, it's gonna go towards your face.
Yep.
Yeah. It's much more. You have to be much more technical than a raw bench.
Absolutely.
I've never lifted in a shirt, so I can't.
Have you used
speak
a
to it.
slingshot?
Yes, use the
I've
slingshot.
used a slingshot,
Yeah.
but I mean, just messing around. Not like, I mean,
I've never done that.
and even the people I've talked to,
Elliot is
who have-
lying to the audience.
Even the people I've talked to who have benched in a shirt and used a slingshot, they say it's not anything similar.
Oh,
So,
really?
From what I've heard, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but still, it's even if you're like a half inch either way, you sometimes can get away with it if you're a raw lifter, but in equipped lifting, you don't really have that luxury most of the time, and that's why a lot of time in equipped competitions, you see a lot of people go like 4 or 5 or 9,
Or
just
bomb
go-
out.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot higher variance in that regard.
And so that's equipped lifting, and then we have raw lifting like we spoke upon. But then there is a little bit, and of course there's deadlift suits that we talked about that goes with equipped and whatnot. But anyway, there is another offshoot of powerlifting, and that is twofold, right? We talked about that we compete in a fully tested federation, and before we get into this more, Andrew, I want you to speak upon, because you and me have had to conduct drug tests. What exactly is the drug testing process for USA Powerlifting, and what do they test for? How do we test? Stuff like that.
So basically, at each competition, a minimum of 10% of athletes are drug tested.
Yep.
And that's up to the discretion of the meet directors. And so we get to select who gets drug tested based on whatever we see.
Whatever the meet director's criteria is.
Yeah. So a minimum of 10%. So if there's 40 lifters in a meet, it's going to be 4 lifters get tested. But if you have 41 lifters in the meet, you're going to have to test 5 people. So
Right.
I have a question.
So-
You say minimum. Does that mean if there's like more suspicious people, you can do more?
we can
Comes down to
conduct as
financial.
many tests as we want,
Yep.
but you have to pay for the test
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
So
Right.
minimum of 10%. And so basically what we do.
And before you keep going, I think it's also been a little bit of a maybe not misnomer or misplaced use. A lot of people think it's random. It is not random. It is not a fully randomized, like people put in a hat and then you just pick one. It's targeted for sure.
Like you pick. It seems like you generally pick like the winners. People that
That's the
Pick
easiest
people
thing
you
to
think
do.
would fail.
Yeah.
right.
You're trying to catch people who are not playing
That
by
are
the
like
rules.
ridiculously
Yeah,
strong.
exactly. So if you
Right.
see someone, if like their last competition, they put up whatever a 1,200 total. In this one, they're coming in with a 1,500 total within a year. You're gonna be suspicious. So
And you probably will test them.
either that or someone just looks dice to the socks, and
It could be as simple as that, seriously. Yeah.
Is it often that you guys actually find somebody? Because we never hear about it.
There is a public drug testing database on
Right.
USA Powerlifting's website, so you can see who's been drug tested and who's passed and who's failed, and current suspensions and everything like that.
Right. Now, the test, we can get into it. The test, pretty much, although it does test for recreational drugs, it's mainly testing for steroids.
Right.
And it depends on what type of panel you get. If you have a WADA panel, that tests for a little bit more of a wide-ranging thing versus a standard. I don't know what the other brand is, but if you go into the USAPL database, you can see an offset of WADA tests, which is another issue in itself, and then another type of test. And they both test for steroids primarily, but the water one expands to other things as well, like THC and stuff like that.
I thought yours also did that.
I could sit here and try to tell you exactly what is on the panel. I just know that on all of them, steroids is the biggest one.
Yeah.
So any type of steroid metabolite or steroid offshoot, that is the biggest one. But THC is banned on the USABL rule book or whatnot. I don't know. There's a lot of different things that go into it, but essentially it's a urine test.
Yep.
And that's an in-meet test. If you are one of the better athletes, they also register you into the out-of-meet testing pool.
I was in that for a little bit.
So you were in that for a little bit, so that's when they can literally show up randomly.
Randomly drug tested?
I did one time. What's his name? Mike Zalinsky.
Oh, really?
Him. Yeah,
Yeah.
He showed up at my school at TA.
Oh my god.
Wow.
And I was not there. I was working.
Oh, no.
Because I had I was a senior.
Yeah.
Right.
And he calls me. He's like, "Hey, I'm at your school. I need to drug test you right now."
Right.
I was like, "I'm working. How about I meet you at Dunkin' Donuts?"
Right.
Oh my God.
So me and him show up to Dunkin' Donuts. We're just sitting there, and he's huge.
Yeah,
Michael is huge, yeah.
And yeah, he just drug tested me at
That's
Dunkin'
hilarious.
Donuts.
I didn't know that.
And that was
Cool.
Yeah,
and that was a urine test, right?
it was. Yeah.
How does
Now they
TA
do some blood
handle-
testing though.
Yeah, how do you
how does just a huge guy walk into your school and be like, I have to watch this kid pee?
I honestly don't know how that would have gone. I don't know if he actually went in.
Oh yeah.
He just called me and he was.
And even
there.
then, if he just presented us, we need to drug test Michael Beaupre, like the principal is probably like, for what?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the people knew I powerlifted, but they
Right.
would have been like, "What is going
Yeah,
on?"
It seems like
exactly.
a pretty funny situation.
Yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, to kind of get back on topic, raise the hands. Have you ever been drug tested out of me? I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Elliot hasn't. And we-
Drug test you.
yeah, we can change that, Elliot.
Just kidding.
Well, you guys are saying adding hundreds
JK.
of pounds to your total in a year.
Yeah, we'll see.
True.
We'll see. Okay, so maybe you're trying to say
Maybe we
something
should-
without
maybe
saying
we should
something.
do
Yeah,
it.
I guess maybe we should.
Okay.
You drug tested me last meet.
That's true.
I-
You fucking went off.
Yeah. So let's get back on track here. So yes, there is the reason why I say that is because there is another side of powerlifting that is untested. And what that essentially means is exactly what it sounds like. They do not test for steroids. They do not test for recreational drugs or anything of the like. Usually these federations, or I think all of them, also employ something called a 24-hour weigh-in. So that's another thing we should include. USAPL is a 2-hour weigh-in federation, meaning within 2 hours of you weighing in at whatever weight you register, the meet has started. Whereas other, like the USPA, RPS, UPA, like all of these offshoot federations, they all do 24-hour weigh-ins where you weigh in the day before and then you lift the next day. So there's a lot of, leeway in terms of what you can push in terms of weight cuts and stuff like that. Quite literally, Andrew, we could probably see people jump a full weight class down and compete essentially at the weight class up, but they're still registered at that lower weight class.
Yeah, Ben Pollock was one of those guys that would do those hell cuts.
Yeah,
Lose, like,
he was
30 pounds to
he was
get
almost
down to,
jumping
like,
2 weight
181.
classes down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was doing some hell cuts a few years ago now, but yeah.
right. And with these other federations, they use specialty bars, right? So although I have heard that there is a bench-only bar, I've seen it. I don't really know what the difference is. They use something called squat bar. Squat bar is usually thicker in terms of its diameter. It is stiffer, and it has more knurl. It's usually 25 kilos. People who are squat north of like 600 pounds notice a big difference. People who are south of that really don't. I guess the biggest difference, though, would be the deadlift bar. So the deadlift bar is thinner, meaning for people with grip issues, usually it's a little bit easier to grip. It is whippier, and for those of us listening or the audience listening here, or even seeing it, the deadlift bar is a little bit overstated in terms of how it helps south of 500 pounds, I would say.
Yeah.
It's mainly just grip that it kind of helps people with, but essentially the bar, due to its tensile strength, when you kind of pull your slack out, for people who are familiar with that, it starts off a little bit higher, so the range of motion is lower. And generally speaking, most people can deadlift more on a deadlift bar than a stiff bar. Would we agree with that?
I would say for the most part, yeah,
Yeah.
everybody that I've seen.
Mostly sumo people get a lot more out of it than conventional.
Well, and you can even put your feet out wider if
It's
that
a wider
works
bar
for
as
you.
well.
It's a wider bar, yeah.
Yep. So there's 2 different ways to kind of go about this. And as we kind of talked about, there's a bunch of offshoots there. And there's also equipped lifting in the non-tested side, multiply. So you're wearing multiple suits and stuff like that, or squat briefs and all that weird stuff to us because we don't really do it. I want to start with Michael. Why do you compete in the USAPL? Why do you compete drug tested?
Honestly, it's probably because when I started, that's all I knew, because that's what my dad told me to do,
Okay.
and that's what he did. And I would really never do drugs.
Right. That's something that I actually want to talk about.
Yeah.
We'll talk about. So save your speak on that. But why do you compete on? Why do you like the USAPL? So USPA, for those listening, has a drug tested division,
Right.
meaning they do tests for stuff like that. Why not go to the USPA?
I honestly, just because that's where I started, is USAPL.
Right.
And I don't even think I've ever considered going anywhere else. In the beginning, it was kind of like USAPL was the bigger one.
Yeah.
And now USPA is kind of coming up, it seems.
Yeah, they're coming up, and I think for a while people were kind of dramatizing how close it was, and it was close for a little bit during Corona times. But I think USAPL is going to knock them out of the water this year.
2019 USPA actually surpassed USAPL for number of members.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I don't. If as far as I remember, I believe they're killing them
I
now.
haven't seen any numbers from
I guess
this year or last year, but again, the coronavirus sort of fucked everything up.
Right.
And on
it did.
like social media, it almost seems like all the things you see is USPA, because they have the non-drug tested people, so they're putting up some big numbers.
Right.
I
Exactly.
disagree.
You would disagree with what?
What Michael just said.
What do you-
almost only see exclusively USPA.
Okay.
I mean, I see both, but I feel like a lot of them are USPA.
That's fair. But I would agree. I would agree. I personally am not a huge fan of powerlifting social media personally, so I don't really see.
You don't know.
Yeah, well, I see a lot of USAPL and I see a lot of USPA. I will say that.
But like the big like guys are in
Of
the
course.
USPA.
Yeah, and then I think of some guys that can transcend that, the Ashton Ruskas, the SSJ Bobs, and whatnot. They would be good in the USPA fully tested.
Well, like John Hack, he transferred over.
Yep, and he's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pollock was another guy that did both USAPL, USPA.
Ben Pollock plays second at USAPL Raw Nationals. Yep.
Jamal Browner started off USAPL.
Yep.
That didn't go so well.
Yeah. That was Jamal, though. He's a good guy.
What happened with that?
He
Failed the drug test.
failed the drug test,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he deadlifts like 1,100 pounds.
Yeah.
He gets a lot out of the deadlift. Well, actually, I can't even say that because his he does stiff bar deadlifts. He incorporates that into his training a lot, and he pulls crazy amount on the.
He's
stiff
just
bar,
strong.
too.
He's just strong.
Yeah, he failed the drug test though for USAPL.
He
Yeah.
did, yeah.
What do you think about that?
That's, I mean,
I think that tells you all
it
you need
means
to.
that the drug testing's working.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, but like, what do you think about that mindset about taking drugs even though you're competing in a?
Let's save our comments on that just for now.
I didn't know that about him.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't want to speak upon Jamal's character. Jamal's a really cool guy, it seems like. So, Elliot, USAPL, you, out of all of us, I feel like would love to send it on a deadlift bar and straps and stuff like, because you've talked about it before. Why USAPL for you? And why do you decide to compete drug tested? Why is that something that's important to you?
Well, you say I want to send it on the deadlift bar, and that's definitely true. But it's not because...
Why is that it?
So I just want to go back to what Michael was saying about social media, seeing a bunch of USPA guys.
Yep.
Everyone I look up to is USAPL.
I suppose that's a good
like,
thing.
Who are you talking about?
Like,
Yeah, who do you look up to?
The new generation, like Wheeze, Liam Newell, like you said, SSJ Bob, Ashton Ruska, people like that. I guess they're not really. Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I was going to say the first two you said. Yeah.
Ashton's been competing for a long time.
Ashton's
too.
been competing since Michael has in like 2014.
Yeah.
Maybe even longer. He was competing since I
In
think since
Alaska.
He was like 14 years old, and he's like 26 now. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a long time.
Well,
Anyways.
here's another one is Russ Wohl.
Yeah, Russell.
Shout out
Yeah.
Ori.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like him. He's a USAPL guy.
I'm gonna be honest. Russell Ori did a lot for drug tested lifting. I think he got a lot of people into the USAPL, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I know a lot of my gym friends admire him too.
Right.
But it kind of goes back to that. They're not like the only reason I do it, because I do know of USPA guys too.
Yeah.
That I like admire a lot. But I don't know. I remember this is gonna sound kind of like cringy, but I remember seeing like one of Weeze's stories, and he was like asked the exact same question, like, why do you compete USAPL? And just like the highest level of like competitive natural lifters live in USAPL. So I think that's cool.
Yeah.
And then just even more like transcending what people are doing on Instagram is like, I like the idea of consistency amongst the three lifts. So like every lift is done with.
I love that you said that. Yeah.
I know like in USPA it's done with kilo plates too, but the same bar specifically.
Like RPS use pounds plates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But specifically the same bar, like, I don't know, it just feels more.
Yeah. Feels a little bit more honest.
For lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
like saying like, oh, this is my total, and I can recreate it like no matter what. Like I can recreate it in the most honest way possible.
That's awesome. So essentially what you're saying is you admire the standard that the USAPL upholds.
Yeah.
And I think I would agree with that. Let's go to Andrew, USAPL, because you were initially, this is what we were kind of alluding to at the beginning. Your first meet was originally going to be in the RPS.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, going into their first competition, they don't know better.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know some of these differences between federations.
And then another thing, that was right in Saco. That was going to be right down the road.
Exactly. That's what I was going to get to. Like, they will find it, like, they may, everybody has a different story about how they got into powerlifting, but they'll find a competition that's close to them. I found one that was in the town over.
Yeah.
And it was at, like, the end of the summer. In 2017, actually. So for a lot of these new guys that are just getting into powerlifting, they don't necessarily know about the 24-hour weigh-in versus 2-hour weigh-in. They don't know about the specialty bars. They don't know about a lot of the differences between federations. And so, my first competition, I was going to sign up for an RPS competition in Saco, Maine. And I didn't. I had obligations with Rugby the same day, so I decided to not sign up for it. And I'm pretty thankful that I did not, I guess, because
me and Andrew talk about this all the time, the butterfly effect associated with this.
I've been to RPS competitions, and there's not anything inherently wrong with them. They're just a lot different than, something that I'm interested in, what I'm looking for out of powerlifting. And a lot of what these guys said, having, consistency across the bars. And I think what Elliot said about not having to, like, set any qualifiers for your lifts, like, I can deadlift 500 pounds on a deadlift bar. I have, like, this total with, a deadlift
a 24-hour weigh-in.
24-hour weigh-in.
Yep,
all
that's
that.
Huge to me, the 24-hour weigh-in.
And I guess it's fine when, you're, talking to people that compete, the same federation as you. But, just overall, a lot of the people I run with are on the USAPL. A lot of the people I look up to are also in the USA Powerlifting. So, having that consistency throughout all the lifts, and I've used a deadlift bar before I even knew what a deadlift bar was.
Your PR is still 440.
Yeah, it was 440 in my college gym. Somebody had a deadlift bar that was stored in the closet.
For reference, Andrew's deadlifted like 560 something now at this point.
Yeah, I hit 560
on a stiff bar.
But that was years ago. I didn't even know it was a different bar. I just thought they called it a deadlift bar because it was the bar you deadlifted on.
Right, yeah.
I didn't know there was anything different. I didn't feel any difference.
Which kind of goes to show that it really does not help you that much north of or south of 500 pounds.
Yeah, and it's just another thing. Like, when you're first getting into it, you don't know what you don't know. So the longer you stay with it and the longer you sort of immerse yourself in it, the more you'll understand what you're looking for. And what suits you and what you want to get out of the sport. Yeah,
absolutely. You guys kind of spoke upon it already. I think that of all these things, I think the biggest thing for me is drug testing. For me, if I know, of course, it's top 10% targeted, but if I know that they're, generally speaking, the strongest people have a chance to be drug tested, that levels the playing field for me. If I knew that I was a natural athlete and I'm going to a competition where other people are using steroids and I know that they're not actually stronger than me, it's because of exogenous means. Yeah. Personally, that's not something that I'm down with.
Not be fair.
And it also just wouldn't be motivating. I mean, I could put forth all of this effort, and then someone who's putting forth half the effort and is taking steroids puts forth a better total than me, or knows how to use the deadlift bar a little bit better than me, or knows how to manipulate the 24-hour weigh-in, right? They're weighing 162 pounds, and they weigh in at 148, but they're competing at 162 the next day. I'm not as a big fan of that. And then for me, the standard of the USAPL to me is the gold standard. Now, that's been kind of thrown in the air of, are they too strict? I would rather a federation be too strict than too lax any day, right? And we've all been, my last meet, I was the victim of what some would say a poor call. Michael had a little bit of a schism on bench press at his last meet. Elliot has had calls like your butt coming off the bench. Andrew, have you ever had anything like that? I don't think so.
I don't think I've had any technical failures.
No, I don't think so, which is honestly a good thing.
Try and keep it real.
Yeah, try to keep it legit. But I would rather that be the case than have it be left for doubt, right? Because we see some of these federations like the RPS. USPA is pretty good, but sometimes even with the USPA, where the squats are high, or the bench, like there was barely a pause, or the deadlift that is barely locked out, the shoulders are rolled forward like this, and they're kind of, rolling back and whatnot. So that's kind of why I decide to compete USAPL and specifically drug tested. I think that's something that is really important for me here. So let's get into this now. And we might be getting a little bit intrusive here, but I want you guys' uncut, raw, just opinion on this. This is a sport that, whether fair or not, has the stigma of most people probably use steroids. I think when you say powerlifting, most people assume steroids, right? They don't think of raw, untested powerlifting. They think of the big juiced up guys, and that is what people think.
West Side guys.
Yeah, the West Side guys and stuff like that. And for better or worse, of course, that's just a different sport in my opinion. And this is kind of getting into things again intrusively. Why do you guys make the stance? Why don't you have you ever thought about using steroids? Would you ever use steroids? And what kind of goes into your mind as to why you want to stay drug free, or maybe you don't? Let's start with Elliot. Why you're the youngest out of all of us? Why drug free for you?
Drug free for me because I just want to see my natural potential.
Okay, so you want to see your natural potential.
It kind of goes into the other question you asked too, is whether I would do steroids or not.
Yeah.
I want to see myself, like, no matter how, like, what other people think, what's realistic or what even I think, I want to, like, see what I can do just by myself.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not really anywhere close to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to keep pushing that for as long as I can.
Right.
Would I ever do steroids? I'm not going to say no.
Right.
Like, maybe.
Yeah.
John Hack is a good person to talk about.
Right.
He was amazing naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, where do you go from there once you reach the top is you kind of want to see, like, what you can do.
It's true. And I think even John Hack, though, said that because he got out of the game in, like, 2016, and this was before there was money meets in the tested side of things and whatnot. And I believe I've watched a live stream with him where he said that if he knew that this was going to be the case, then he would have never done it, because, like, the Sheffield is going to happen. They're giving out, like, close to $300,000 for the tested lifters. So that's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to talk about. But you're a young kid, and this is something that maybe later down the line you'll have to think of. But that's probably something for multiple, at least a decade and a half down the road, right?
No, it definitely wouldn't be anytime soon if I were to. It would be like way.
Yeah, and we want to preface this that steroids are illegal, and we're not condoning steroid use at all. This is just theory. Let's go to Andrew before we talk to Michael here. Why drug tested, or maybe not why drug tested? Why do you decide to stay drug free? Because I know all of these people, and they are all drug free individuals. Why drug free? Would you ever talk about it?
I've never really even considered, hopping on or doing any of that.
Right.
It's never really been a thought that crossed my mind. And like Elliot said, finding your natural potential is, one aspect of it, but just another one is just obviously if you don't dose them correctly, they can be harmful to your body.
Yep.
Obviously.
Even if you do, they still can be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But even more so if you don't know what you're doing, and if you don't know, what you're putting into your body and how much of it and what effects it has on you. Obviously, there's negative health consequences with that.
Right.
I want to be healthy for a long time, and I think I can maximize my health by not doing steroids.
Yeah. That's non-negotiable. I think that's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big aspect of it. Powerlifting, people, some people might consider, going to the gym, lifting to be a healthy activity, but competing in powerlifting isn't necessarily, a healthy thing to do. You're putting your body under a lot of stress, multiple times throughout the year. It's
really like they made that distinction. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big misconception too.
Yeah.
A lot of the shit that we do is wicked unhealthy.
Yeah, I don't know if health is the right word.
3 monsters.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it could be, it's not, I don't want to say it's unhealthy to do, but you're really pushing your body to the limits,
right.
A lot of the time, and putting additional stress on your body using steroids,
exogenous means,
yeah, it's going to put your body under even more stress, and I just don't care to, honestly,
right. And it could honestly be simple as that.
I don't care to compete in the USPA. I don't care to compete outside of the USAPL.
Right.
Those are the best meets that I've been to. Those are the best meets that I've done. I have no desire to use a 24-hour weigh-in or specialty bars or anything like that.
No.
And if I were to start using steroids, I would be forced to go to a different federation. And
right.
So that's just not something that's ever interested me.
Right. Yeah, and it could literally just be as simple as that. It's just never interested you, and all of the things that kind of go along with it. Michael. Speak your piece on this.
I mean, I guess I've thought about it, but I've never really like considered doing it. Like, I watch videos of guys that are on it and like they talk about it.
Right.
And it to me it's interesting, but I would never do it because of health reasons.
Right. And without getting into it, Michael, you have a pretty extensive history with heart issues.
Right. And I think if I were to get on that, and like we were saying, powerlifting isn't the healthiest thing.
Right.
It probably wouldn't make things better. Probably make things worse.
It probably would make things worse. And the thing that I always like to think of is powerlifting really worth it for the possible negative outcomes?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like maybe if it was a sport like, and not saying that the athletes in the NFL and the NBA and Olympic track and fields are all using steroids, but at least there's a payout, right? You have Olympic gold medals, you have sponsorships, you have millions of dollars on the line. Maybe that's worth it for some people. But for drug-tested powerlifting, where although we're giving away money at meets, it's not thousands and thousands and millions of dollars yet. Realistically, is that worth it? For some people, it's a yes. But I think for most people who are getting into it, it's not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, if that's your career and that's what's gonna like pay the bills, then do what you want to do.
Right.
But I mean, and like we said, or you said about you think of powerlifting, you think of steroids. I think of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I think of steroids.
I'm thinking of when I debuted, because as we talked about, I'm a teacher of younger students, whatever. When I said powerlifting, almost the first thing that everyone asks is, "Do you use steroids?" That's what they thought of. And then, of course, I have to say no, and that's the truth. But I guess for me, no. I've never considered using steroids. I would never use steroids. I have no desire to. Do I like to educate myself on what the side effects are of them, and just learning about why people decide to take them, and how they improve performance? Absolutely. I think having general knowledge of stuff like that is useful.
I think that's where I am too. I just like the research of it.
Exactly.
But never actually thinking of buying them. I mean, where would we even get them?
Yeah, and then there's a lot of logistics. So you have to go through shady means to get them and stuff like that.
Are you getting the right thing?
Are you getting the right thing? Are you dosing it properly?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I value in my life. Powerlifting, I will admit, is one of them, but I don't care about powerlifting so much that I'd be willing to sacrifice my health any more than I already am, right? So putting yourself under a heavy bar is dangerous. Training as heavy and as often as we do is dangerous. You talked about the caffeine thing. Is that the best thing for our health? Probably not. Eating McDonald's post-workout, is that the best thing? Probably not. But all of that stuff is very tame compared to taking steroids, right? So I don't think that it would be ever something that I would consider. And then plus it would force me to lift in another federation. And I would just rather see what I can do naturally, because I think that's the coolest thing to me.
If it were to, say, pay the bills and you could make a lot of money, would you consider?
And it's tough to say, because when you say that, it's like you'd almost be forcing your hand. I'd like to think that there would be other means to pay the bills that are not that.
Right.
And then powerlifting at that point wouldn't be a love for me anymore. It'd be a job. And I would hate the day that it actually becomes a job. You know what I mean?
I have a question for you.
What up?
Extremely hypothetical.
Of course.
But if taking steroids guaranteed you the number one spot, like the strongest man in the world, would you take him?
No, I don't care about that.
I don't think I would either.
You don't care about that?
No, I don't care. I don't use personally, and if it's okay for people who take this stance, I don't use my strength as like something that I hold my hat on. I like me as a person more so than me as the strength athlete. So no, that wouldn't be worth it for me.
Andrew?
I don't think so, no. That's, again, like that. Yeah, like you said, it's an extreme hypothetical.
Yeah. Right.
No, I don't think I would. I also know that that's not like a possibility.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Right. So it's kind of hard to actually do a hypothetical. Elliot, why are you leading into that? You might, if that was the case.
I don't know. I could get extremely transcendental with this.
Elliot,
I won't though.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Remember, we're gonna try to stay away from the transcendental talk. I'm gonna say if there is anyone to experiment later into life that I would put money on out of the four of us, it would probably be you.
He's the only one who said he would.
So, well, even before then, just hearing Elliot talk about concepts, I could see that. But
I align a lot with what you guys all say. Like, I definitely want to see. I want to become great. naturally.
No, of course.
And I like USAPL.
Yeah, and
Like
you
I said, I
stated
like the
that.
standard that we hold,
Absolutely.
all of that stuff.
And the last thing I want to say before we kind of put this one to bed, for the people listening, steroids are not good for you. And this is our stance on it. I think the general recommendation is stay away from that, especially if you're a teenager. If that ever crosses your mind, realize that that is something that, you should have you should be well over the age of 25 after your brain is fully developed. You should not be acting out in emotion. And we generally on the Utopiacast, or not even generally, we do not condone steroid use.
If you play a video game and you cheat,
Yeah.
it's fun for a sec, but then you start to hate the game, right?
Right. So
But if you're in a non-tested, I wouldn't consider that.
this is
It
true.
depends on what you do it for, but I
This
think
is true.
realistically, most people lift to like feel that sense of progression.
Right.
I don't think there's anything ethically wrong with doing steroids.
No, I don't look down on any.
No, I don't think there's anything ethically wrong, but there definitely is something legally wrong
Yeah,
because
let
they
me-
are.
yeah, Let me rewind. You're talking about teenagers, Eric. You just brought up teenagers.
Yep.
I guess as a teen, I feel like justified in saying that most teenagers see a lot of like the strongest people on Instagram.
Yeah.
Or like me, you're surrounded by strong people, and you think I want to be them.
Yeah.
Like right now.
It's true, but then you also have to take into account, like, all of us and we're all drug free. So
Yeah.
what makes you? I mean, not you, but like, what makes you think that you can't do that as well? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
exactly.
would be my retort to that.
Yeah. But a lot of young kids are like, I need it now. You
Right.
know? I
Yeah.
don't want to I just want to be a part of this right now. So that's why I said that. I didn't mean to make it seem like I think steroids are cheating or unethical. I
No,
think it's wrong if you lie about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unethical to cheat in a tested federation.
Yeah,
I would say.
exactly.
right. Now, all right, Mike, were you gonna say something before we?
I forgot what I was gonna say.
No, it's okay.
I got one more thing to say.
Yeah, what's up?
As J. Cole once said,
Yep.
to die a young legend, or live a long life unfulfilled.
Shout out J. Cole. He kind of fell off after 2014 Forest Hills Drive, but
Kind of.
definitely. Shout out Kendrick Lamar. He's way better than J. Cole is, and I'll die on that hill till the day I die.
Careful.
No, I'm not gonna go careful on that one.
You'll offend someone in the audience.
Now, real quick, before we get into shoutouts, I'm thinking that we're going to do this for all of our guests here. Andrew, we kind of talked about music last week. You're definitely a music fan because we have.
music.
Yes, absolutely. The only reason I say that is because Michael's not a huge music fan. Me and Elliot definitely align with our taste in terms of what we listen to actually in the gym. But you and me have liked the same music pretty much for a very long time. If we asked this question last week, as of right now, not historically, but right now, if you're going to get under a heavy PR attempt on the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift, what songs are you choosing?
Shit.
It's a tough one.
For squat, man.
And don't if it's abstract.
Wow. This is not something I've really thought about because for the longest time, like all throughout COVID, when I was training in my fucking apartment bedroom, I wouldn't have music playing. I would literally just lift in my bedroom.
Yep. And Andrew would send videos, and I'd be like, "Dude, can you play?" I honestly was like getting uncomfortable watching the
I
videos.
didn't listen to music when I lifted.
You can just hear like
No,
Yeah.
seriously. And you could hear his knees cracking, and I'd be like, "Dude, can you at least like play some music?" Because this
I
is
would
like
put headphones on at the gym and not play anything in them just so I didn't have to hear the gym's music.
Right.
For squat,
even if it's not what you would do right now. What historically have you used? Maybe what you used to ask
Do
me.
you want time, Andrew?
what's good?
Do you want time?
No, I can go.
Okay.
For last meet, leading into squat, I was listening to "Better Off Alone" by
Alice DG?
Yeah, something.
That's insane.
That's a hell of a song.
Dan.
I've been listening to Pusha T a lot. Hear Me Clearly. I've been using that to hype myself up a lot.
Shout out Push.
A lot of stuff. Na 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 na. It's all around the world.
That would be Around the World by ATC.
Yeah, A Touch of Class.
Yep.
I throw that on a lot for my heavy sets. Oh man.
Writable song
New
as well.
God Flow, Kanye and Push.
That's where me and Andrew align right there.
Yeah, I
Did you
think.
see that music video?
There's no music video for New God Flow.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's not a music
Just
video.
a throwback to the.
No, exactly. I know what you're trying to say.
To what?
He was trying to throw back to when we talked about how we bonded over the Power music video, but there is no
shit.
music video for New God
That's a
Flow.
callback. Yeah, I guess those 3 or 4 songs.
Okay.
I'm not too picky about my music choice.
Fair. You're on the spectrum of pickiness. You're not as where Michael is, where he could put on like any Lil Baby song and be fine.
Yeah. Anything in that genre.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm probably closer to Elliot, but Elliot's on the side of if he doesn't have the right drop during the certain portion of the lift, he won't play it or he won't actually take the lift. You're probably not as bad as that, and probably a little bit below me, but a little bit below or above Michael.
Yeah,
Do you have specific genres that you like for a different lift?
No, not. I mean, for squat, I think for squat I like EDM music, kind of like that. Better Off Alone kind of genre. It's not really EDM. I don't even know what would you call that?
I would say that's EDM.
Yeah. So stuff like that I like for squat, but I mean I'm really not.
Trance music, I think that's technically what that's called, trance or house.
Or to John North. He's the one who he used to
we
blast that shit.
We could get into the John North thing at some point, but all right. So it is the close of episode 3. So before we go, we're going to go with our weekly segment here called Shoutouts, where we shout out any entity we want, and we quite literally mean any entity we want for any reason. I'm going to pick who gets to go first. Does anyone have one ready? I do. I can go first.
I have one.
Okay, so we're going to start with Michael then. Michael, who are you shouting out, or what are you shouting out this week, and speak your piece upon that.
I'm going to shout out my girlfriend, Lydia Gordon.
Wow, so we have the first shout out of a significant other on this podcast. We've had a call out of a significant other on this podcast by Elliot. Grace, if you are watching this, he didn't mean it like that, okay?
It wasn't really a call out.
No, it wasn't a call out, but I do know that it caused a little bit of rapture.
I tend to misspeak a lot on the podcast.
That's right. Grace is a friend of the Utopiacast. Shout out, Grace. But anyways, Michael.
She's recently gotten into lifting, and she's made a lot of progress.
Lydia, honestly, is pretty strong.
Yeah, she's started using my SBD belt because I got a new belt.
Next thing's getting her into meet.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
I hope so. That'd be really cool.
She just hit 185 on deadlift the other day.
Yeah.
Bench 70 pounds today, which was huge for her for 6.
Yeah. Wow, for 6?
Yeah.
That is crazy. Yeah, and Lydia, we went to round 1 bowling last weekend. She is hilarious.
Yeah.
She is funny, man.
That was a good time.
Yeah, it was a really good time. They finally got me to come out of my house for the first time in like 4 years. It was pretty fun. But anyway, Elliot, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Shout out Abdul Kareem.
Abdul, straight out of Soccer Sport and Fitness.
Out of Soccer Sport, yeah. So I met this guy at the gym that we lift at.
Right.
And I actually ran into him at my old job on the Vine. Shout out on the Vine too. He walks up to me and he's like, "Yo, you lift at Soccer Sport, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I thought that might be the end of it, but I kept saying hi to him. And then this most recent Thursday, I walked up to him and we had this like hour-long conversation about what I want to do with my future and what he does. He works in tech.
Yeah.
And he's been getting me into coding.
Right.
So I coded him up a nice button using JavaScript. I made it display a little message. I know nothing about coding or like how computers work at all, so it's kind of euphoric.
Right.
And yeah, shout out Abdul.
He might have
get into powerlifting, so
you might so you might be getting him into powerlifting. He might be getting you a career.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, pretty fair trade off.
Andrew, are you ready to shout something out?
Yeah.
Andrew, what would you like to shout out?
Do I just do one or can I do multiple?
You know what? We might do the first multiple shout out on this podcast. Andrew, it would be an honor to have you to be the first person to do that.
So the first one is Kirkland Blue Drink, Blue Sport Drink.
Wow. This is why we had him on.
Heavily at Titan Barbell. And I guess a secondary shout out to Eric Dawson, the owner of Titan Barbell, for buying these Kirkland Blue Drinks.
Shout out Eric Dawson in general, man. That guy's I love that guy. He's awesome.
Guy. Those things are incredible. Better than Blue Powerade.
Good shit.
Definitely.
This is good content.
Without a doubt. They remind me of the freeze pops that we used to have when we were kids. And I don't know
exactly what
you
you're
guys have
talking
had
about.
The Kirkland Blue Drink, but they're fucking incredible. So, shout out to Riley Hennessy as well for reminding me.
Friend of Utopiacast, Riley Hennessy, great lifter.
Secondary shout out is to computers. Not only the technology, also the song Computers by Rowdy Rebel and Bob Schmerda.
Wow.
And a tertiary to that, computers, Alan Turing, the original computer. He ended World War II pretty much. So
the Turing test.
Alan Turing, yeah.
He cracked the Enigma code. We could have the offshoot of the Utopiacast history. I would love to talk about that. Yeah, I would love to talk about that. All right, so I guess we'll follow suit with that because I did have 2 things in mind, as I did last week, but I'll shout out both of them because you know what? Fuck it. This is Utopiacast. We run it. We can do that. The first entity that I'm going to shout out would be the anime Dragon Ball Z. All right. Now, people who know me, it's become kind of a little bit of a cliche these days to say I love Dragon Ball Z. I've loved Dragon Ball Z since I was quite literally 7 years old, watching in Toonami. No show still to this day has made me, has taught me more life lessons than that show, and it still kind of is. Every so often, I still come back to certain episodes, and honestly, it gets me emotional. Elliot, we've talked about this quite often. You're not as big of a Dragon Ball Z fan, but you're an anime fan, yeah. So like the character of Trunks, just for whatever reason, has always resonated with me. Vegeta, you know, I mean,
It's cool Vegeta always getting his ass kicked.
well, about that. Anyway, he's the anyway. Andrew, you didn't need to do that. The other entity I would like to
pause. Yo, this guy looks like that one guy.
Andrew,
Tien?
yes,
Yeah.
Andrew,
Go back on my Instagram. I was TN like 2 years ago for Halloween.
yep, for Halloween. I told one of the first things when Andrew started watching the show a couple years ago.
Before I went bald too.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, dude, you look a lot like TN. And he's like, who is that? And I was like, I showed him. He's like,
You said I reminded you of TN.
yeah, but you actually do look like him.
Well, now I do because I'm bald. But
Okay, well,
when I had hair, I was like, yeah, you're TN. I'm like, all right, let's get it.
Yeah.
When I went bald, it was self-fulfilling prophecy.
yeah, jacked, huge. And the other entity I would like to shout out is the song "Out of Time" by The Weeknd. Now, you know what? I'm going to go a little bit on a tangent. The music video for that, quite literally, has never made me feel better about life. I'm not going to get into why, but that music video has just changed my life, and I still watch it easily 3 to 4 times a week. Me and Elliot, we had a moment when we went to Jacked and Jilled 2 weeks ago where we kind of got a little euphoric to that song,
I would say so, yeah.
and you've been playing it as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's skyrocketed into my top 5 Weeknd songs. I've been a Weeknd fan since 2011 when the first original mixtapes came out.
Trilogy?
Yeah, the trilogy. You know, I play it for top sets. I play it when I'm driving to school. I play it all the time. That song has changed my life for the better. Gentlemen, do we have anything else that we want to say in closing?
No, I think we're good.
We didn't need to do that, Elliot. Elliot is showing his age there. Andrew?
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks
It
for
was a good
coming,
time,
Andrew.
yeah.
And Andrew's the one who provided the video and the visual for this, so thank you for that.
And the new mics.
And the new mics. We weren't sharing a mic. For those of you, we haven't done a visual, but people were speaking. Elliot and Michael have been sharing one mic up until this point. So anyway, yeah, I think that's a good place to close it. That was episode 3 of the Utopiacast. We'll see you next week. Can't tell you who we're going to have on just yet, but we will. You guys will know when you see it, I guess. Have a good one, guys.